It's time for another race breakdown Penn Relays edition. We're going to go all the way back to 2016 Boys High School Championship of America Distance Medley Relay, also known as the Drew Hunter race, where he led Loudon Valley back to a photo finish victory. Let's pick this up in the first leg where there was drama very early on in this race involving Loudon Valley's leadoff runner. See him in the back in the gold. There's a big fall, and Loudon Valley's runner ends up tumbling down to the track. He wasn't the one who initially fell, but he ends up on the ground. We'll bring this back one more time for you. Loudon Valley runner right there on the track. So 20 seconds into the race, this thing gets scrambled. One team had to run out, grab their baton all the way out in the most outside lane, and there's Loudon Valley's runner right there in second to last. Now, he's going to do a good job staying composed, working his way back up. We'll zoom through this section. So we'll get you to the first exchange here. And Loudon Valley still in a deficit. But again, you got Drew Hunter looming on the anchor leg. All you need to do is keep it close. You see Loudon there, passed a couple teams to move back into the mix. Now we are ready for the 400 leg. I'll fast forward through that so that way we can get to the 8. And things still tightly bunched in the back. Not much movement that you can expect in a 400-meter leg within a distance medley relay. But Loudon holding steady there. But you see the teams out front trying to put as much distance as they can between themselves and Drew Hunter. So let's look. Here is the exchange to the mile leg. About 5:50 on the clock for the leaders. And Hunter's going to get the baton. Their 800-meter leg does a good job. Hunter's going to get the baton right there in about 5:58. So has quite a bit of a deficit. But let's remember who Drew Hunter was in 2016. This was a guy who was having an incredible season as a high school senior. He smashed the 4-minute barrier indoors. Remember that 3:57 run at the Milrose Games. He was far and away the best high school runner and was working up the all-time list. But he's got to come from behind here. That PB that he has is very intimidating for the rest of the field, but now he's got to catch up on the rest of the field. As you see, a big old gap there between even first and second, and then Hunter starts rolling, so he's in first, second, third, just moves into fourth. Up front for LaSalle, that's LaSalle High School out of Rhode Island, that's Jack Salisbury, who actually still in college now, running for Georgetown. Let's pull up his stats. Run 3:37 in the 1500, 3:56 in the mile. Just ran a 3:37, but last outdoor season was 6th in the nation. So good runner. And Hunter is trying to close down on Salisbury and the rest of the field. So let's zoom ahead here. Hunter looks like he's almost in a bit of no man's land at this point. Look at this gap here between himself and Salisbury. It is still sizable, and he's already done a lot of work. Now, Hunter's been clicking off quick splits throughout this race. He's been closing, but is he going to have enough? Coming up on 2 laps to go. Salisbury just passed. Now Hunter is crossed, 7:59 on the clock, and he's passed everybody else, moved his way up throughout those first 2 laps. So now it's just a matter of, is he going to get first or is he going to get second? That gap, though, is still very big at this point in the race. You have a great shot of it there. 50, 60 meters perhaps still at this point, maybe even a tad more. But Hunter is looming there in the background, and Salisbury knows. He's been checking over his shoulder. Let's go ahead to the bell lap here, because this is when things get interesting, because Hunter is clearly closing as we take the bell. And Hunter ends up splitting 4 flat, and he's just right at 9:02 there for that lap. So now you can see the lead has just dropped dramatically. But what Salisbury does next is pretty interesting, because I think he understands, hey, Hunter's going to close. The question is, do I have a response? So what he does is almost slow down in an effect to try to save up some energy so that perhaps he can kick with Hunter over that last 200 meters. Maybe he can stay with him. Maybe Hunter putting in all that work to catch up. If Salisbury can have one last push, he can go by him. So he's checking behind his shoulder. And the way you can tell that Salisbury was holding back is once Hunter comes up to him, he has a response. You usually don't see that in a race like this. Usually when you're caught, you're caught, especially when you have that big of a lead. You're only going one direction, and that direction is backwards. But Salisbury was clearly metering out his effort to plan for something like this. And I thought it made this race super interesting because watch, here's the pass with 200 to go. And Salisbury looks and then says, I'm going to go with him. And now Hunter needs to respond. Now Hunter's like, hey, the people I'm passing, they're not just sitting ducks. This guy's really going to give me a run for his money. And now they're shoulder to shoulder with 100 to go. And it's anybody's race. You look at the faces of these guys. Hunter is completely flat out. He's had to claw back so much ground, but now he's stuck in the proposition of, hey, I might have been able to catch this guy and run past him, but he pulled this little trick here. He was laying in wait, and now he's got a little bit left, and they are just flat out all the way to the line. Hunter reaching with every single stride. Initially, commentators thought LaSalle had it. I think Drew Hunter at this moment maybe even thought LaSalle had it. But you got to wait for the reaction because the reaction is intense. And this is one of those great Penn Relays moments. They're waiting. They're waiting. Loudon Valley, LaSalle. Loudon Valley, LaSalle. Who's going to take it? And if you watch this race back, you can hear a loud cheer before the announcers even mention who wins because the results go up. You can see people pumping their fists in the background. They're just pumped that they got to see a great race. And then it's jubilation for Loudon Valley pulling it out and getting the win. A little bit of shock. I don't even know if Hunter thought that he had it. It was that close of a race. Let's look at these splits. Let's look at these splits here, these times. Loudon and LaSalle both at 10:00.01. Hunter, 4 flat, 0.73. Just a heck of a close. Salisbury, 409.76. Could have gone faster if he probably just ran an even effort. But I think he kind of played the right strategic hand there. I think it was smart when he knew Hunter was going to go past, maybe surprise him a bit, and then see if he could outkick him that last 150 meters. But it was complete joy for the Loudon Valley squad. And a great Penn Relays moment that is now 6 years old. Excited to see who's going to make these new set of memories coming up in the 2022 Penn Relays. And for more race breakdowns, be sure to check out the FloTrack YouTube page. We'll talk to you guys next time.